My brother said it every Thanksgiving, every Christmas, every family gathering for 10 years. At least I'm not the family disappointment. He'd laugh, look at me across the table, and wait for everyone else to laugh too. They usually did. Uncomfortable laughs, but laughs nonetheless. My mother would say, "Connor, don't be mean." But she'd be smiling. My father would shake his head but change the subject instead of defending me. And I'd sit there, 21, 23, 25, 28, being called the family disappointment by my own brother while my parents did nothing to stop it. Last Tuesday, my assistant forwarded me a job application. Senior position, interesting candidate, previous experience at Jensen & Associates. I opened the file, saw the name at the top. Connor Mitchell, my brother. He'd applied to work at my company, the company he'd mocked for years. The little consulting firm he'd joked about at family dinners, and he wanted me to hire him. I sat back in my chair, staring at his resume, and I smiled. Not a nice smile, a smile that said, "This is going to be interesting." 10 years ago, I was 21 and dropping out of business school. Not because I was failing, because I had a better opportunity. A startup wanted me. Small consulting firm helping companies with digital transformation. They'd seen my work on a class project and offered me a job. Equity stake included. $25,000 a year plus 0.5% of the company. It was nothing. But it was real. Connor was 23 and in law school, on track to make big money, following my father's footsteps. When I told my family I was leaving school to take the startup job, you'd think I'd announced I was joining a cult. "You're throwing away your education," my father said. "For what? $25,000? And equity," I added. "Equity in a company that'll probably fail," Connor said. "Most startups do. You know that, right? You're making a huge mistake." "Maybe," I said, "but it's my mistake to make." "Don't come crying to us when this falls apart," my mother said. "We won't be able to help you." I didn't cry to them. I moved to Seattle, took the job, worked 80-hour weeks, learned everything about consulting, digital strategy, client management. The company was small, 6 people including me, but we were hungry. We landed clients. We delivered. We grew. Connor graduated law school, passed the bar, got hired at a prestigious firm. My family was ecstatic. Posted about it on social media. Threw him a party. When I came home for Christmas that year, he was holding court in the living room. "Junior associate at Morrison & Klein," he said, "starting at $95,000. Then he looked at me. "How's the startup life? Still making poverty wages?" "It's good," I said. I was making $40,000 by then. We'd grown to 12 people, but I didn't elaborate. What was the point? "Well," Connor said, "at least I'm not the family disappointment." Everyone laughed. I left early. Drove back to Seattle. Didn't go home for Thanksgiving the next year. My mother called upset. "You're missing family time." "Connor called me a disappointment," I said. "He does it every time, and you let him." "He's just joking," she said. "He's being cruel," I said. "And you enable it. So I'm not coming." I didn't go home for 2 years. Worked instead. The company kept growing. 20 people. 30. We were landing bigger clients, tech companies, Fortune 500s. My salary went up. 60,000, 80, then 100. I got promoted to director, then VP. I was 25 and running half the company. Connor made partner at his firm at 27. My mother called to tell me, "Your brother made partner. Isn't that wonderful?" "That's great," I said. "How are you doing?" she asked, like an afterthought. I'm good, I said. Busy with work. Still at that little consulting place? Still here, I said. We hung up. The next family gathering I attended was my grandmother's funeral. I couldn't avoid it. Connor was there in an expensive suit. The prodigal daughter returns, he said. How's the startup? It's not a startup anymore, I said. We have 80 employees. Cute, he said. Morrison & Klein has 800, but I guess that's impressive for you. At least I'm not the family disappointment, I said. Used his line. His smile faltered. What? That's what you say, right? At least you're not the family disappointment. Well, at least I built something. What did you do? Get hired by someone else's firm? He walked away. My mother pulled me aside. That was uncalled for. Connor was just making conversation. Connor has called me a disappointment for 6 years, I said. Where was this energy when he was bullying me? He wasn't bullying you, she said. He was motivating you. I left. Didn't go back for 3 more years. In those 3 years, everything changed. The consulting firm was acquired. Partial acquisition. Investment group bought 40% for $12 million. My 0.5% became worth $240,000 overnight. But I stayed on, kept working, kept growing. We expanded. New York office, London office, 150 employees. I got promoted to COO, then CEO when the founder retired. I was 29 years old and running a consulting firm worth $30 million. I bought a house. A real house with a view of Puget Sound. Started investing in other startups, built a portfolio. My net worth crossed $1 million. Then 2. My family didn't know any of this. They still thought I worked at that little consulting place. I didn't correct them. What was the point? They'd stopped asking years ago. As far as they were concerned, Connor was the success story. The partner at Morrison & Klein. The one who'd done everything right. Then COVID hit. The legal industry contracted. Morrison & Klein downsized. Connor wasn't laid off, but his hours got cut. His salary reduced. He started looking for other opportunities. Meanwhile, consulting boomed. Everyone needed digital transformation. We couldn't hire fast enough. We grew from 150 employees to 200 in 6 months. Revenue doubled. I was working 16-hour days, but it was exhilarating. That's when Connor's application landed on my desk. I looked at his resume. Morrison & Klein for 8 years. Partner for 3. Decent experience. Nothing spectacular. Cover letter talked about wanting to transition to consulting, about his skills in negotiation and client management. It was professional, polished, made no mention that the CEO was his sister. That either meant he didn't know or he was hoping I wouldn't see it. Either way, it was bold. I forwarded it to my head of HR. Run this through the normal interview process. Don't mention I'm his sister. Let's see if he's actually qualified. She looked at the name. Mitchell is your brother? Yes, I said. And if he asks if we're related, tell him yes, but that all candidates go through the same process regardless of connection. No favoritism either way. Connor made it through the phone screen, then the first interview, then the second. My team liked him. He's confident, my hiring manager said. Maybe overly so? But he has a good client experience. Would you hire him? I asked. If he's willing to start at senior consultant instead of director level, yes. He's qualified, but he's used to a law firm hierarchy. Consulting is different. He'd need to prove himself. Offer him senior consultant, I said. Let's see if he takes it. The offer went out. $85,000, down from the $140,000 he'd been making as partner. but fair for the role and his consulting experience level, which was 0. Connor called me directly. First time in 3 years. Jordan, did you know about this? About what? I asked. Kept my voice neutral. I applied to a consulting firm. Turned out it's your company. Your HR just sent me an offer. Congratulations, I said. You must have interviewed well. You didn't know I applied? I saw your resume, I said. I forwarded it to HR with instructions to treat you like any other candidate. They did. You made it through. Silence. The offer is for senior consultant. That's 3 levels below partner. You're not a partner in consulting, I said. You're a lawyer transitioning to a new field. Senior consultant is appropriate for your experience level, which is 0. I made partner at Morrison & Klein, he said. In law, I said. This is consulting. Different skills, different hierarchy. You can take the offer or decline. It's a fair offer based on your qualifications. I'd be working for you, he said. Not a question, a realization. Technically, you'd report to the director of your practice area. But yes, ultimately, everyone reports to me. I'm the CEO. More silence. How long have you been CEO? 3 years, I said. The company was acquired 6 years ago. I've been here since I was 21. Started as an associate. Worked my way up. You never told us, he said. You never asked, I said. Every family gathering for 10 years, you called me the family disappointment. You mocked my job, my choices. You never once asked how I was actually doing. So no, I didn't share. Why would I? Jordan, I was joking, he said. You weren't, I said, and you know it. But that's in the past. Do you want this job or not? The offer expires Friday. He took until Thursday to respond. Accepted. His start date was set for 2 weeks out. I told my parents. Connor is joining my company. My mother sounded confused. Your company? I thought you worked at a consulting firm. I do. I'm the CEO. Have been for 3 years. You're the CEO? My father asked. He'd picked up the other line. Yes, I said. Connor applied. Made it through our interview process. We offered him senior consultant. He accepted. But he's a partner, my mother said. Was a partner, I corrected. His firm cut his hours. He wanted to transition to consulting. We had an opening. He's qualified. So he's joining. You're going to be his boss? My father asked. Yes, I said. Is that a problem? No, it's just, we didn't know you were running the company. You never asked, I said. For 10 years, you never asked how work was going. You just assumed Connor was more successful because he was a lawyer. You let him call me a disappointment. You enabled it. So no, I didn't share that I'd become CEO. My mother was quiet. Then, we should talk about this. There's nothing to talk about, I said. Connor starts in 2 weeks. He'll be a good employee or he won't. That's between him and his performance reviews. As for our family dynamic, that's something you need to think about. I'm done trying to prove myself to you. I hung up. Connor's first day was a Monday. I watched from my office as he walked in. Met with HR. Got his laptop and badge. Sat at a desk in the open floor plan. Not a private office. Not a corner. Just a desk like every other senior consultant. I didn't go down to greet him. Let him settle in. Around 11, I got a message from him on Slack. Can we talk? I have 15 minutes at 2, I replied. Conference room B. He showed up at exactly 2. Looked nervous. I'd never seen Connor nervous. Thanks for meeting, he said. What do you need? I asked, kept it professional. I wanted to apologize for the family disappointment comments, for not taking your career seriously, for being a dick for 10 years. Okay, I said. You're accepting my apology? I'm acknowledging it, I said. Whether I accept it depends on what you do next. Words are easy. Actions matter. What do you want me to do? He asked. Your job, I said. Work hard. Learn consulting. Respect the team. Stop assuming your law firm experience makes you better than people here. And stop calling me a disappointment. Ever. I never meant. Yes, you did. I interrupted. You meant it every time. You enjoyed it. Made you feel superior. But we're not at family dinner anymore. This is my company, my team, my rules. And rule 1 is respect. He nodded. I can do that. Good, I said. Then we'll be fine. He stood to leave, stopped at the door. How big is this company? 200 employees, 40 million in revenue, offices in Seattle, New York, and London. We're projecting 50 million next year. His face went pale. You built this? I grew it, I said. I was employee 6, now I'm CEO. That's what happens when you work hard instead of resting on your degree. Connor worked. Really worked. I watched from a distance. Saw him stay late. Take feedback. Learn. He was good with clients. Better than I expected. Brought his legal experience to contract negotiations. Added value. His director gave him good reviews. He's hungry, she said, trying to prove himself. Good, I said. That's what I want to see. 3 months in, Connor came to my office. Can I ask you something? Sure, I said. Why did you hire me? You could have rejected my application, made me go somewhere else, but you didn't. I thought about it. Because you were qualified, and because I wanted you to see what you'd been dismissing for 10 years. You called my job a joke, my company a little consulting place. Now you work here. Now you see what I built. That's why. It's humbling, he admitted. It should be, I said. You spent a decade making me feel small. Now you're experiencing what I built while you were busy mocking me. I'm sorry, he said again. I really am. I was wrong. About everything. I know, I said. That's why you're still here. 6 months after Connor started, we had a company all-hands meeting, 200 employees on Zoom from 3 offices. I was presenting our year-end results. 52 million in revenue, exceeded projections. New clients in healthcare and finance sectors. Expansion plans for Chicago and Austin. I saw Connor on the screen, watching, really watching. After the meeting, he messaged me. I had no idea it was this big. Now you do, I said. That Christmas, I went home for the first time in years. My parents had asked, really asked, not obligatory, genuine. Connor was there with his wife, no kids yet. We all sat around the same table where he'd called me a disappointment so many times, where my parents had let him, where I'd felt invisible. Tell us about the company, my father said. Not Connor's achievements. Mine. So I did. Told them about the growth, the acquisition, the expansion, the clients. They listened. Really listened. My mother kept looking at Connor, then at me, like she was recalculating everything she'd believed for 10 years. I'm sorry, she said finally, for not seeing this, for letting Connor make those comments, for treating your work like it was less important. We both are, my father added. We were wrong, about your choices, about your career, about everything. Thank you, I said. That means something. I told them. Connor said. About working at your company. About how wrong I was. About everything I missed while I was busy being an asshole. You told them your family disappointment? I asked. Used his words. He winced. Yeah, I did. Because it's true. I'm the one who had everything handed to me and ended up needing you to give me a job. You're the one who built something from nothing. You're not a disappointment, I said. You're just not the star you thought you were. And that's okay. Neither am I. I just worked hard. You did more than work hard, my mother said. You built a $40 million company. That's not just hard work. That's exceptional. 52 million, I corrected. We hit our targets. The table went quiet. 52 million, my father repeated. Your company did 52 million in revenue? This year, yes, I said. Projecting 70 next year. Connor put his head in his hands. I called you a disappointment. Jesus. Yeah, I said. You did. For 10 years. But I proved you wrong. That's what matters. That dinner was the start of something new. Not perfect. Not healed. But honest. My parents stopped comparing us. Stopped treating Connor's career as the only measure of success. Started asking me about work. About my life. About the company. Connor stopped being arrogant. Started being humble. We worked together better. He got promoted to director after a year. Earned it. I made sure of that. 2 years after Connor joined, we went public. IPO'd at 200 million valuation. My shares were worth 12 million. I'd become wealthy. Really wealthy. Connor found out through the company announcement. Came to my office. 12 million? After taxes, about 7, I said. But yes. The family disappointment is worth $12 million, he said. Not mean. Just stunned. Turns out I was never the disappointment, I said. I was just the one doing something you didn't understand. I should have asked, he said. Should have paid attention. Should have seen it. Yes, I agreed. You should have. But you were too busy feeling superior. I'm sorry, he said. Again. I know, I said. You've proven it. You work hard. You're a good employee. You've earned your promotion. That's enough. Is it? He asked. Is it enough to make up for 10 years? No, I said honestly. But it's a start. And that's all we can do. Start over. Build something better. He nodded. Left. I sat in my office, corner office, floor-to-ceiling windows, view of the city I'd moved to at 21 with nothing but a job offer and hope. And I thought about that word. Disappointment. How much power we give words. How they can define us or motivate us. How Connor's cruelty had driven me to prove him wrong. How I'd built an empire partly because someone told me I couldn't. My assistant knocked. Your 3 o'clock is here. Back to work. Back to running the company. Back to being the person Connor had called a disappointment. Except I never was one. I was just the one who refused to follow his script. And that made all the difference. If you've ever been called a disappointment by someone who should have supported you, this story is for you. If you've ever had a sibling mock your choices while your parents enabled it, if you've ever built something extraordinary from spite and determination and refusal to accept their limitations, this is for you. You're not a disappointment. You're just on a different path, one they can't see until they're standing in your office asking for a job. Tell me in the comments, have you ever been called a disappointment only to prove them spectacularly wrong? Did they apologize or did you just move on? I read every story. And if you want more stories about people who turned being underestimated into unstoppable success, subscribe. There's always another disappointment becoming a CEO.